Stage, interception, all the king's men, when you are ready, perfect, the neighbor, and they took everything. No, okay. Okay. Yes, hi everyone. I want to apologize, I did not introduce myself. My name is Olayinka Hassan. I'm a fellow filmmaker from Chicago. Today I'll be curating Q&As with our fellow filmmakers as well. Please introduce yourself and the name of your movie.
Hi, my name is James Harrell, and my film was The Neighbor.
I'm Jay Sullivan, and I produced All the King's Men and Perfect.
I am Salwa Khan. I'm the writer, producer, and actor in When You Are Ready.
Good afternoon, my name is Ronald Haney. I'm the actor here, and they took everything on behalf of Avalor Peters and Kucha, the professor.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us today. Everyone did a great job. I love the films. So we're going to dive right into it so we are not shortchanged with people getting to know you guys, asking questions about your film. Okay, so I would like to start with, obviously, each filmmaker to let us know what inspired you to do the film that you do. Well, even though you're an actor, what inspired you? So even with you being an actor, start with you. What inspired you to be a part of the project?
Oh, what inspired me to be a part of that project? Well, Avalor Peters is a wonderful friend of mine. I happen to be an author who's an actor, and I had cast him in the novel trailer I need to submit. We did a novel trailer for my novel, W. Eat What You Sow, and Avalor was participated in that. He and I became friends that lasted to this day. So he was doing, they took everything and he cast me, and you know, it was a lot of fun. And it just feels so good to be in my element.
And then your calls.
Yes. Yes, but yes, you know, so he came by, we filmed, some of the film was at my apartment, and then some where he lived at the time in Brooklyn. And, and it's just exciting to just be participating in getting the films out there and everything. And I say congratulations to everyone here and continued success.
The inspiration for my film came from my mom. She's a phone interpreter, so she will often tell me stories of what's going on, and like especially she does Bengali to English and vice versa. So a lot of times the Bengali folks would be like also have that kind of conversation with her where they're like, you understand our culture, and they'll have all these other side things, and she has to kind of navigate that far more professionally than the person of the film. But it inspired the story, and I do work with people in domestic violence. I was a hotline worker, so that kind of made me think about this topic. I am an actor. This is my first film. And many people kept saying, oh, you need to do something, create your own work and tell your own stories. So I thought earlier this year, I thought, let me just give it a shot. I was like, I'm not a writer, but I started writing, and I shared it with some folks, and I got some really good feedback. And so I thought, let me try this out. It was what you were saying earlier about just going and doing something and following, like I guess everybody over here has done that. So. So that was the inspiration. The story kind of inspired by my mom, and then my own experiences kind of came together and came out to be a short film. So thanks.
I love this room.
Thank you.
Especially that logo up there. And thank you, Darwin, and everybody that makes this possible, because without this and other places like this, I would make films. I would enjoy making films. I'd be happy to make films, but I would not be showing the films or enjoying it in a community experience, which I enjoy very much. For me, I'm an actor as well, and sitting in the audience is almost like being on stage when the film is running, because I get to feel the reaction of people around me, much like I might feel an audience. So it's a very, I'm very grateful that there's people sitting in the seats, so thank you for that. I've been carrying a camera around since I was about 14. I have a great interest in psychology and creative process and the effective creative process on the brain. So I produce films as sort of a self-therapy. So I try to look for emotions or psychological barriers that I'd like to transcend, and then I create a film about that. And repetition is an important part of that, because that's how the brain was originally wired, and this is how you rewire the brain, through repetition. So a lot of my work has to do with repetition. These two are part of a series of 9 that had to do with feeling enough. So I had a very traumatic childhood, and out of that came the great gift of always wanting to be better, perfect, except as you get older you realize there is no perfection, and that there's only the doing and not the end result in so much. So I produced a bunch of films that were based on different guidelines that I discovered in a research process. So these two were, All the King's Men was about accept that which is irrevocably broken. So instead of always trying to fix things, just be okay with what you perceive to be broken. The perfect one was, of course, about not being perfect. And secondarily, I discovered that the more I accepted myself as being perfect, the more I accepted others as being perfect. So that film was designed not to be aesthetically beautiful, not to be finished looking. It was meant to be imperfect, to demonstrate. So it was sort of like a mockumentary, which is presented as one thing, it's not. So it was test footage, but it really wasn't at the same time. Since we're in New York, I'll just talk a little bit about the first film. My family's from Brooklyn. I lived there for the first 6 months of my life, and then my family's got on the suburban exodus in the late 1950s off for New Jersey. My father was a genius, and he was a top IBM salesperson in the late 1950s, wow. Which would be like being in Google today. When I was about 5, he started hallucinating and having bipolar episodes, which was not well treated at that time. By the time, 20 years later, he was homeless and living on the streets of New York. So All the King's Men was really a journey through my process with him over the years of my young adulthood, trying to save him from himself. And then finally being able to live with him as being the way he was, and getting to a point where I could just be with him as that without feeling the need to fix or change him or somehow make it better. That it was just the way it was. The hope of all that is that I started that series and some other series, really stuck in the teenage years of my relationship with my father, which is embarrassed about him, hated him, why is he like this, to a point where I look back on his life and I thought, what an amazing, amazing man, and what great gifts that he gave me. And the one thing I realized much, much later was that I learned how to use a camera from him, because he used to make amateur films on our driveway, and he taught me how to load a camera.
That's nice.
You know, and then I forgot all about that for 50 years until I revisited it, had the courage to revisit it. So thank you for that.
All right, where do I start? All right, so I've been doing videography since middle school, where that was at the point I was probably 11 years old. And that was just something that I really fell in love with because my mother, she bought herself an iPad, and that was like the first time I discovered a device that could capture footage. And that blew me away, where I would use the iPad every day to record myself making videos at home and just doing the most random things on camera. And then it got to a point where Instagram becomes a thing, and I was told that you could post videos on Instagram, and I did that. And that really had me blow up with my fame, where I was the one kid known to be making videos, because no one else was doing that, it was just me. And I was known to be the one guy who would do videos. Now, one thing about that was that it was hard to be able to fit in friend groups because no one else was doing this besides myself. And nobody knew how to do what I could do. And so that kind of had them see me as an outsider. And that kind of led me to the point where I wasn't like going out as much, hanging out with friends. I was never like invited to parties, but I just knew that because I was so good at this is what was really making me happy. And every time I was just home by myself, I would always record videos nonstop. And I would always try to do something that I'd never done before. I always like to do something different every time, nothing the same, because that's gonna help you become better, and that's gonna help you evolve. And then it got to a point where once I graduated high school, I wanted to go to college and, get into a major of film. Now, one thing was that I went to this private school, and they said that they provided film, but then they never did, because they did that just to take the money. And I kind of wasted a year there, but at the same time I didn't, because I met a lot of nice people, a lot of people who supported me for what I did. Because again, I was the only person there that was doing what I was doing, but everybody was actually supporting me and was applauding me, and they thought that I was just like them because I was nice to everybody and I was creative. But then I realized that, this is a great place to be around the right people, but I gotta go for what I want to do with my life.
That's right.
So that's when I got out of that college, and then I went to Digital Film Academy, which is a trade school in Times Square, and they teach film. And I feel like that was my place right there, because everybody there was all on one simple topic, and everybody wanted to do the same thing under the same industry. And then it got to a point where we had a project on doing a narrative, and that's when I realized at that moment that I could actually do something that I've never done before, where I would invest money to basically get the equipment, get the location, and find the right crew. And once it got to a point where I was able to finish this whole project, I realized at that moment that I finally was able to do something. I was finally able to do something that I was never able to do before. And once this project came out, I got a lot of recognition for it. And everybody was telling me this is something that they'd never seen before. And that had me realize that that kind of reflects to me in life, where no matter what you do, you always want to keep on evolving and not try the same thing. Because if you do something consistent, it's not going to lead you anywhere. You always got to take risks. You always got to keep on evolving, so that way you keep on rising and striving for greatness.
Yeah.
We are we're wrapping up soon, but as a fellow artist, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to come up here. Thank you for sharing your inspirational stories. And we look forward to seeing everyone at the next block.
Yeah.
Thank you.